capitalism. All of the gains in automation, it goes to the owner class. All you have to do is have everyone be an owner, and now suddenly any gain in automation is a gain for everybody. If you grow just one thing, it may not grow as well as if it grows with another thing. A good example of that is called the Three Sisters method of farming.
There is definitely multi-apartment buildings or multi-families that do passive design.
$100 million that they gave to Joe Rogan that they would kind of be out if they breach contract. Is that a bigger number, or is 2 billion a bigger number?
I don't know, Zach.
It's a tough one. I
It's
know,
really hard.
and maybe comparing numbers is not Jeremy's strong suit. Gotta go kill a Jenny.
I still don't think you should kill her. I don't think it's a good idea.
It's a ghost, dude. Welcome back, everybody, to Bread Theory. I'm your host, Zach. Tonight, joining me, as usual, is Dan Platt of the Auburn Green Party. How you doing tonight? How you doing tonight, Dan?
Hey, another balmy fall day here in New York.
Yeah, we finally got the tail end of that one. It actually feels like fall today, but for a while it was, yeah.
I have 80 today. I have 80.
Extended summer, yeah.
Well, it's discussed. Even the Chapo boys were discussing it that we'll just have 2 seasons, summer and winter. It really
Seems that way.
Going to be in between,
which sucks.
And our winters will be themselves intermittent, where instead of it being 3 solid months of cold, if it snows, it all melts within a week.
Yep.
And because we'll have warm or at least above freezing days, which.
Yeah.
So having accumulated snow is definitely going to be a thing of the past, and that really hurts the ski industry. It hurts winter sports.
Absolutely, it does.
And in my own comfort, I think, because you can't just get used to just what the weather is like.
Yeah.
Speaking of, because of this, I use so little like melt snow salt and stuff because I don't like using it in the first place. But I have a big bag of rock salt. And I have improperly stored it over the summer. I kept it near the door, my front door. And what I really didn't know is that if it's usually the concern when I did a search of proper storage, it was more about like if there's too much moisture around, the salt clumps and hardens. But it's done the opposite. It's been liquefying.
Oh, that's odd.
And so. There was a pool of like moisture. Well, it's not really moisture. It's liquefied rock salt, and because I was moving, I noticed that when things were shifted around, that there was a puddle, and it's not evaporating. It looks like there was. I was afraid that there was some leak under the floor or something, like water was seeping up. But apparently, because it isn't water. It's like the rock salt liquefied and it's
slurry
there, and it's hard. Like it's not like I'm wiping it up and it's like not getting any less moist looking. And then I'm shifting it around, and then I notice like it's literally like it's like a melt liquefying bag of ice. So I've moved it to a bin in the tub. The bathroom down here is a little bit more consistent with the moisture and in the air and the temperature, since it doesn't get hit with a lot of direct sun. It's also where my dad did his home brewing for that reason. So we'll see if that stabilizes it or not. This might have been a process happening over months, and I only started noticing it when we shifted the hat rack over to move the couch.
It's funny.
Other news, I hosted, there's an IWW conference in my area, and I hosted somebody who was attending that from Jersey.
Very cool.
They did not seem to be guided by any Google Map or app well, because it took them 5 extra hours than I expected them to take to get up here.
Oh, crazy.
This was like a group from Philly that picked him up. So maybe they just got lost in Jersey. And I know that when you're moving north from mid or South Jersey to New York, you're going through that tangle that is Jersey. So who knows what the fuck happened? I mean, one wrong turn, one wrong lane, and you're going into Midtown and getting caught in rush hour or rush 5 hours. Who knows? But they didn't get here till like 11, which was weird.
That's pretty late.
He discussed with me. We didn't talk too long because he was wiped out by the conference. But he discussed some of the internal issues with IWW because I was kind of like we were discussing factions within orgs, and because he's new to IWW,
Sure.
and IWW itself is they're left communist. So just to tie this into that, I'm finally finishing the Lenin pamphlet that I have. About where he criticizes left communists, just anarchist leaning.
Was it the leftism? Yeah,
but it's just a question of strategy, right? Not the ideology that's the problem with him and the left communists. So they're all communists. It's just what makes them left or right is the question of strategy, and the thing that makes them right wing is not that they're like inherently conservative. It's that you will organize in like conservative spaces, different than saying like these days, saying like, well, we need to reach out to Trump voters, right? That usually is taken to mean we need to change our positions to appeal to them. We need to be more moderate. We need to be more conservative. That is not Lenin's argument. And it's not what any leftist who says we need to talk to Trump voters, they just mean, they're just actually using Lenin's argument, which is you go into these organizations to pull people left and you do whatever chicanery you need to do. And he calls it, sacrificing, let's say, your purity, your ability to be principled, to make the argument or to organize people to find the right, the people, or to raise consciousness within reactionary spaces, whether it be in parliament or trade unions, which are the two main focuses, because that was the argument in 1920.
Yeah.
Because you have the Dutch communists and some German communists in Frankfurt putting out a statement. That's what he's reacting to and shitting all over it. Saying like these two groups having different lines that were, ridiculous. Because like these two groups, where did they go? They didn't do anything. They're sitting on their ass. Because out of principle, you don't do anything. Sort of like a lot of the sectarian or campist communists that we have around in America that can go to college campuses and recruit people, but then they don't have any strategy.
Yeah.
The strategy is keep recruiting people. So they recruit people, and then the next person recruits people, but then it feels like an MLM because all you do is recruit. And it's like, to do what? Because I guess the strategy is once we have a critical mass of people, then we'll do something.
Then we do something.
Then we'll implement a strategy.
Wait for this mythical point, this tipping point.
No, the Marxism / Leninism / Maoism / just whatever is that the strategy is that you recruit by organizing, or by organizing meaning campaigning, by fighting for things, or by doing community projects. You recruit by doing that, or you recruit to do those things, right? You're not recruiting just to join the org for the sake of it, so that people belong somewhere. Obviously, that's one of the things that happens, so they belong somewhere. But then that belonging has to be actionable. It has to lead. It has to mean something. It has to be like playing D&D even, or like if it's a social club, then it's like, okay, what we're doing, our strategy for socialism is at least to hang out with other socialists, which is, to me, as far as the SRA is concerned, I think what I'm seeing there.
Mm-hmm.
But the activity, instead of being D&D, is shooting guns, and some gun education, which I fulfilled, which of course does not mean I'm fully trained or anything. But the point is, after these two experiences, I'm like, well, I don't really care about being fully trained. It doesn't matter. It's like there's no functional purpose to me owning or being trained in guns if there is not a strategy that includes or necessitates needing to be armed.
Sure.
And
Makes
no
sense.
strategy in America requires that. And no one is even talking that way. Even the people who just want to be armed up to maybe be a cell of some kind. But it doesn't factor into any of their strategy. They're actually the ones who are kind of going cynical and because they're the ones that don't have a strategy.
Yeah.
It's actually this is filling the void and not having, or they had a strategy and they've been burned one way or another. Either they burned out or they got burned.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Well, shall we get into some of the content for tonight?
Right. So, yeah.
Sure. Did you want
For
to
any
start?
who watch this later, we have two choices that I presented. I checked back in with Karlin Burashenko. She's doing really well this year because when Trump is in office, she gets to or when Trump is in office, it means that leftists are doing more direct action, and this gives her more attention in that because she's the leftist understander, and so she's been making being invited on InfoWars and maybe Fox News as being the person who understands Fox. Well, remember, her career started by being invited on these places in the first place, but now she's got a reason to go back, being an expert in Antifa because she knows more, and she's not dealing in pure fantasy, though her fantasy is that she has an ideology.
Aggressively misunderstanding the things that she studies.
In a way. It's kind of complicated. There's a number of channels, right-wing ones, that kind of make it because again, this is once you watch a little Karlin at my job, then I'll be because I'm not signed in to any account. YouTube algorithm shows me other right-wingers that are they're talking Gramsci and they're discussing the Gramsci concepts in a straightforward, accurate manner. But then I think it was the second half of the conversation I was skipping around to kind of see where the hell they were going with this. What was their conclusion? Because basically they spent it arguing about whether the march through the long march through the institutions was complete or not. So the main host didn't think it was complete, or it wasn't total. The left is not in full control of the institutions, as Gramsci would say, or those who inspired by Gramsci, by postmodern leftism or post-leftism. And the others were no, they've completed it. They're in charge of the media and whatever, Hollywood and the left. But it's well, then clearly it hasn't led to any shift in political power. So I think my conclusion as a 21st century socialist is that Gramsci was actually wrong, or if not, not to be taken at full face value. Remember, all of his research was done while he was in prison, just prison notebooks. But you then had a bunch of other leftists continuing okay, let's see if we can research, and they were writing for 2 decades to continue the Gramscian line of thinking about, clearly economics is not everything, because what makes Russia different from Italy? Why is it Lenin succeeds, but Gramsci as a Communist Party leader in Italy gets locked up by Mussolini? Lenin actually kind of points something out in his pamphlet that this is a point that I've never heard before. So it's interesting to actually read something that wasn't just his verbastic, venom towards other communists. Was the understanding that he will admit that him or the Bolsheviks doing a socialist revolution in Russia will be much or is much easier than doing any socialist revolution in any Western, he uses Western country, or at least the translation. But his take is that it was easy for him, the Bolsheviks, to take power or socialist revolution to occur in Russia, but it will be harder to continue it, right, in its form. Which it was. If you're any kind of revisionist, you'll conclude, they didn't conclude the revolution. It was betrayed. It was ended. It lasted a decade before succumbing to whatever. And that in the Western, the doing a socialist revolution will be much harder, but continuing it will be easier. Right? Meaning that, us, a socialist, say gaining power in any institutions, flipping anything. Let's say it's media, but let's say it's local governments.
Anything.
By the time that we have the power base, the dual power to, if not flip the government, but transition the government, build socialism, we will be able, it will have the momentum. It will not be a big fight to continue that because of the way our society is so complex and has so many parts and strong institutions. That's why saying that we're like Weimar Germany doesn't make sense to me, because the democratic institutions in Weimar Germany were barely existent. There's all this like rhetoric that like it was a functioning democracy. It was not. It was not democratic at all. I mean, it just has the word republic on it. But it had been a monarchy, a full freaking monarchy, with a parliament, I guess, but it did not have a free press all those years. So it was like a 10-year experiment in bourgeois parliamentaries, republicanism in Weimar Germany. The fact that it's called Weimar Germany, not something else. It's a transition period in, a big transitionatory, like the interwar years. Yeah. So we're not in that kind of situation. Even though like Trump can like, they're clanging on stuff. But another thing that Lenin mentions a few times is that the Bolsheviks were successful because they were able to synthesize legal and illegal tactics. They were able to do both of the kinds of work that was illegal and legal at the same time. In our parlance, strikes being illegal and parliament being in parliament
being illegal.
Legal.
Definitely helped that the government right after the Tsar fell was pretty ineffectual and heavily disliked by basically everyone for keeping them in the World War.
The war, especially the war.
So that was a bit of a push too.
A lot was happening, and it's kind of impressive. / like it always feels like a fantasy that they were able to do so much within a year. But I think what is that it is mentioned that the Bolsheviks were not a very large group, but they were somehow also winning a good portion of these seats in the Constituent Assembly. But I think it's also that so many other groups, revolutionaries, were boycotting it. So it's like we will able, like he'll argue, it's like, look, you join you do parliamentarianism to show how much like dissolving the parliament is helped by working with it, because by working with it you can show people how much it needs to be dissolved. That's why even if people didn't actively like oppose it, they were okay with us dissolving parliament when we did. Because by the time like we were doing that, we were shutting it down and
people
being
were done with it anyway,
being all democratic, it was obsolete. Which is what the lesson that the communists in Germany and the Netherlands were having, where it's like, oh, the parliament's obsolete, we don't need to engage with it. And Lenin's saying like, no, you should definitely be engaging with it. Because in some other book, I forget why I'm reading it, but the Socialist Register, which is a recent essay, is that a political education is best or at least this is where it actually happens, is when you're active in our institutions and you hit a limit to what you can accomplish. That is how one derives or receives a political education. Until you do it yourself, I think it's all theory and conjecture from those telling you there are these limits. It's not worth doing the X or Y. It's like you have to experience it yourself. You have to be running for office. You have to be in government or on a board and see how little you can actually do, or you can do things, but then you hit a limit. Kind of reminds me of an anarchist
That
who
makes sense.
won a council seat in Florida, and she did not run for re-election, though she could have won probably. But she also, being an anarchist, wasn't part of any larger organization. So her seat she wasn't able to use that as a bully pulpit and grow more anarchists or grow any organization. There was nothing to grow.
Yeah.
So her experience talking to Crime Think was, I was able to do some social democratic things. I could help people out materially, but in the end, I was just helping manage capitalism.
Sure.
So fuck that noise. Which is the left communist position. That's like, it's not worth doing because I'm not fully building socialism. But it's like, yeah, but you're supposed to be engaging other people to go beyond. Plus ultra.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said too about just holding back other people who may hold that same position or who otherwise would hold that same position from preventing any work outside of politics. So needing both the electoralism and the organizing, but not fooling yourself into thinking that the electoral part is going to bring about the sort of change, but just
no, but it's just part of the strategy.
Yeah. Occupying the seat so that the people that are doing the work can do their work without being harassed and killed.
Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, he said, like, the Bolsheviks were helped by having people in the Duma.
Right. Yeah.
To either sympathy or actively support.
Sure.
DSA Democrats can, I think, show their sympathy and I think show up to protests. But I think the levers of the state don't really allow legislators to actively support movements directly, I think. Unless they kind of shift some budget items their way.
Yeah.
Through the Rube Goldberg of supporting initiatives, which takes years. So it's like, oh, sure. Great. But this is how American democracy functions, is that it acts to slow down social impulses so that things don't move so fast.
Can't trust that rabble to make a coherent decision.
Karla Marushenko, this is her, she puts these out periodically, her like guides,
explainers
to the far left. It's basically a cavalcade of her soy jacking to clips of socialists or communists. Sometimes she's just watching public YouTube lectures and whatnot. Sometimes she pretends to be a journalist by infiltrating socialist spaces, going to the socialism conference, or at least paying so that she can access the streams of the socialist conference. And it kind of goes to show that, like, well, within organizations, like everything she's going through is publicly available, like the outward facing media. Right. She sells it to her audience like, this is what the left doesn't want you to see.
Yeah.
But she's completely
shadowy thing.
But this is just her InfoWars training, I guess. Yeah. That no, this is actually all the content we do want to share with people. The stuff we don't want you to see would be the stuff you would be actively prevented from seeing. Where there would be some check to say, like, oh, this is Carlin. Like, we're doing some OPSEC here. Or you would actually have to be a member. Right. And then there would be a spot check. I think a good dues, like a membership organization, does some minimal vetting for new members to see, like,
you would hope so.
It could be their socials. like hiring somebody, but
Sure.
sometimes it's just like, oh, we know him, he's cool, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if it's a totally new person, there should be some check. Like, is this person a ghost? Are they an infiltrator? Like, do they have a social media like going back a few years where they were engaged with Black Lives Matter
Sure.
sort of thing?
Some vetting going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, to think that you could infiltrate some shadowy cabal that secretly has some master doom plan just by paying to watch a live stream, that's pretty good.
But part of her argument that how legit like the content is to her audience is that like when communists are talking about like one of the campus orgs, the Revolutionary Communists of America, when they're sharing the numbers of their recruitment or the people, the signups they've had, just signups to the email list, 100 here, 300 in Dallas.
Sure.
Good numbers, good outreach they're doing on
Right.
college campuses, but it's super easy to do that. Somehow they don't need a permit or permission to table, and I guess maybe like that's where we should be going that way.
Right.
But I feel like I would get thrown off the SUNY campus though. So, like I don't know. It's usually you need permission or security will tell you to get
Really?
lost. But anyway, they're doing it in Dallas. So, but her argument is like, okay, these are their numbers. We know they're good because this is the numbers they're sharing with their comrades, with like as if this is an internal video. It isn't, but she's talking like it is. But it's under the assumption that only leftists would be watching this, which she's kind of right about. She's a very outlier in that she's a fascist watching our leftist content.
Right. Most fascists are just not interested enough to even pretend to understand.
No.
But yeah, like anyone that's tried to organize anything knows that, okay, you get a sign-up sheet of 300 names, maybe 30 of those will ever get back to you about anything.
Yeah, it's a 10.
Maybe 3 of those will actually show up to an event and be solid comrades. So
yeah, there's the core, supporter, and periphery.
Yeah.
That's the diagram there. You know, a good core 10, a supporter base of 50.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a periphery of
hangers on.
Hangers on is not the best term.
No? Okay.
That's negative. We want to go with what was it?
Casual involvement or
sympathizer.
Sympathizer. Okay, that works.
Which sometimes usually does have a negative connotation, like they have sympathies but I think only to the extremists. Like, we don't need sympathizers, we need comrades. Yeah.
I mean, sure, but like, people have lives, stuff gets in the way. Not everyone has the time and energy to devote. Right. So I don't usually fault people for wanting to be involved and wanting to do a lot more than they can, and then not being able to.
But you could put in social media terms, they're watchers.
Sure.
So people who are on my email list, I consider watchers. They do want to be informed. They do want to see what we're doing.
Sure.
And so when we do put out that we have a campaign or like there's someone to vote for, then they can act because it's, something more passive or slacktivist. All right, so let's get going.
Let's get into it.
See how far we can go into it.
I'm guessing it's not far, but that's just based on past performance.
So let's get re-educated.
This
is assuming your education on the left comes from Fox News.
Yeah.
Or worse, Newsmax.
Oh,
or Instagram influencers talking about the left. So this is her, like, the people coming into her space that she's attracting is like, look, I'm the Instagram influencer fascist who reads and goes to, and listens and watches leftist content instead of just like, trolling them.
Sure. We'll see.
All right, welcome everyone. This is Re-Education, an anti-communist introduction to the far left. My name is Carlin Borisenko. For those of you who might be new to me, I'm an industrial organizational psychologist who has gone on a little bit of a journey to become an investigative journalist and an undercover journalist following the radical revolutionary far left in America. Now, why is that important that I'm an industrial organization?
Man, I'm assuming that psychologist is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that organizational psychologist title.
Apparently, she has a doctorate.
Does she really? Oh,
or
that's sad.
maybe a master's. Well, the whole organizational psychology, industrial organizational psychology, is code for tailorist, right? Someone who helps manage.
Yes, it's got nothing to do with like actually helping people. It's just
right. It's the opposite. It's actually, how can I help corporate America better control its workers?
Yeah,
and train people.
Jeez, why is that coming up?
That's what that position is.
I don't know what the heck happened there.
It overlaps with marketing.
Yeah, but it's basically how can we turn people into better machines
For profit, yes.
For profit. So yeah, she's gonna get inside our heads though. I feel like she is casting illusions with.
She's
that.
in my head. She's rent free. She's
red free.
She's squatting.
She's gotten so far in. She's embraced the red.
I'm kidding. I only started thinking about her. Why did I want to check up on her? Because it had been a year, and with everything that's going on, I guess I wanted to see, like, is she going gangbusters? Like, how's she coming to left now? You know?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep going. We're 28 seconds in.
Organizational psychologist. Well, I do think that one of the things that I bring to the far left that a lot of people that are analyzing the left don't bring is I understand how to analyze social systems. I understand how to analyze group dynamics. I was one of those people that would go into organizations and do training about corporate communication and team building and things like that. I've analyzed a lot of teams at a very high level to understand the psychological dynamics of the team. And so that is very well applied to the far left in a way that I don't think many people are doing, because I don't look at the far left and just go, these are a crazy bunch of kooks. I don't look at the far left and call them mentally ill, because quite frankly, they're not. I know people don't like to hear that, but that is the truth. I don't look at the far left and instantly scream narcissist. And by the way, I studied narcissism in the workplace and workplace bullying for about 10 years. And so if anyone was going to be screaming narcissist about the left, it probably would be me, but I'm not, because the real far left is actually much more complicated than that. And the advantage of looking at work like I'm trying to do it and engaging in this type of analysis is that I do tend to take a much more nuanced approach to how I analyze the group. And I'm doing this based on over 4 years now, going undercover inside their networks, inside their subcultures. I have watched probably at least 5,000 hours of video of far left training and activism and education and events over the last several years. I don't work based off of clickbait content that's taken out of context that makes its way around the internet or that usually makes its way onto the news media. I work based on what do the full trainings say? What does the full scope of evidence say? I analyze information across many different groups on the far left. And so I believe the analysis that I've developed about the far left that we're dealing with in the country right now is unique. I think it's the most robust analysis on the market.
And
what we're going to be doing here today is I'm going to be walking you through just some of my experiences with the far left, and I'm going to articulate to you,
she has nothing to argue for,
assuming that everyone here is kind of a beginner.
Yeah.
And maybe you might have some notion that communists and socialists do exist in America because you've seen people on Fox News or you've seen Donald Trump talk about it. I'm going to bring you inside the real far left, and I'm going to show you what's actually going on. Yeah. My position on this is that I do believe the far left is
never thought you'd lose a Stalin
problem,
argument.
and I believe it's a bigger problem than most people understand, because I don't think that people are looking past the surface level of what's going on the far left. A lot of the times they're not going into their meetings. They're not listening to how they're organizing. And when I've been doing these things, one thing jumps out at me every single time, which is it is terrifying how organized they are. It is terrifying how focused they are. It is terrifying how many events they have, what they're actually teaching each other. These are things that you never see on the mainstream media. These are things that you never see anti-communist.
So you know how the fascist
and we go in
needs their enemy, the left, to be both simultaneously mentally ill and weak and kookish, but also really strong and well organized.
Cunning and brilliant
Cunning.
organizing. And
So Carlin leans to, obviously is on the second half of that. So
Yeah.
while other Instagram influencers will just talk of how crazy the left is and everything, this is crazy. Rogan, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Says like that every 5 minutes, I think. She'll be the opposite and saying, actually, the left is pretty competent and look out everything we are doing.
Yeah.
Even if we don't actually have any political power, but see how.
Boy, we're holding a lot of meetings and secret gatherings.
But we also
any random person can find.
But we are the doing spectacle and getting attention, and that if it's Antifa that's out there fighting ICE, then that's us winning.
I wish.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely slowing down ICE.
It is, which is good. But
pressure on, the actual Dem Soak mayor of Chicago to ban ICE from the city. I don't know why it took a whole year to do this, but I guess it had to get bad enough.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not doing anything, but still immense brutality. I mean, they just tear gassed kindergarten or preschool or something like that because they were stuck in traffic. So they're still being pretty brazen.
I missed this.
Yeah, some video.
There's a lot that I'm not getting by not doom scrolling. So
yeah, well, I wish I could avoid it as much as you, but
mm.
Yep, it's just them. One of them just casually tossing a tear gas canister out the window. Everyone, I mean, it was just regular people around. It was not even any protesters around, and the cars move out of the way, and they speed off, and they had to lock down a preschool, or was it kindergarten or something like that. That they had done it right outside their playground yard, and it lingered for quite some time, as tear gas is wont to do.
They just threw it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just take it's just like they're tossing a Burger King wrapper out the window.
Awesome.
So yeah, they're still pretty brazen despite the efforts of people, which is unfortunate to see.
They are pigs.
Yeah. If there was any doubt before. Anyway, getting off topic. Let's get back to it.
To them, I go undercover in person, but we also do deep dives into the far left on my channel almost every single day during the week. And so I hope this piques people's appetite for people who are new to the far left and socialism. I'm going to give you a little taste today of what you need to know about the far left to understand their language, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of my experiences. And just to make sure people know my bona fides, because again, there might be a lot of new people watching this. I have actually gone undercover with the far left in person multiple times. I'm going to show you a couple examples of those. The first time I ever went undercover with the far left, it was at a conference called the Collective Power Conference at Hampshire College in Western Massachusetts. And basically, this was a far left socialist reproductive justice conference. What you're seeing here are actually photos that I took at the conference inside an abortion tour, where they taught me how to have a self-managed abortion, bleed my unborn child into a toilet with the help of an abortion doula. And then at the end, I got to go and worship at the actual abortion shrine. Sometimes, you hear right-wingers talk about how the left worships at the altar of abortion. Well, guess what? I've actually seen an abortion shrine. I've seen it in person. This was my first.
We wouldn't have to do this if there was free and good access to proper abortion.
Safe and legal. Yeah.
Yes, that's the term.
Yeah, this so-called abortion shrine. I'm having some trouble believing that that's what the purpose of that is. I see a tarot card.
Taking her at her word.
I'm not taking her at her word for this one. Where's the goddess to abortion and in this milieu of things? I see a bunch of there's the woman of Willendorf, the famous figurine from the
your Wiccan.
Well, I took art history as well, so that helps. But I see Mother Mary. I see another feminine.
It's an interdenominational shrine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So saying that it's somehow a shrine to abortion, I think that's a bit of a reach. But starting off
Just
with
gonna exaggerate.
anyway, let's get going.
First ever experience. And the question I got asked when I went undercover at this event was, Carlin, was the shrine about worshiping the soul of the baby? And I had to say no, because if you look closely at some of the elements on the shrine, and you can see in this image here on the right, there is actually an image of a person with, it looks like her hands over her eyes. And what it says on the outside of that image, it's very, very small. I bet you guys can't see it, but what it says on the outside of this plate is, loving yourself is the greatest revolution. So that was my first ever experience undercover with the far left.
Well,
I don't agree with that. That's some eat, pray, love stuff to me.
Yeah, but I mean that seals it. It must have been an abortion
shrine
because
about self-love. Yeah.
It's about self-love. Yeah,
narcissist.
Yeah,
should be a shrine to Narcissus.
It should be, yes.
I have to say, I am a pro-choice individual personally, but I have to say this almost made me pro-life because of how blatant and how aggressive the left was about abortion. How they really have it doesn't seem like
I'm pro-choice, but if you're putting it in my face, if you actually have to, educate about it, because we don't have safe and legal abortion.
Hey, Rustbox, how's it going? Ayn Rand would approve. Oh yeah, I'm sure Ayn Rand would have thrown up several times at a shrine to women. So, yeah, no argument there.
It'll probably be the first 10 minutes. Will likely be her kind of tooting her own horn, saying, "What?"
Yeah, should we maybe speed it up a bit and get to the juicier?
That's why I'm
stuff. I was hoping she would do something here with this infiltration, but so far
she's got to talk about like the work
3 still images that she's completely interpreting with.
Well, sometimes there'll be a 30-second clip from a panel of someone saying something outrageous.
Let's see if we can at least find that.
Because you go to the Marxist feminist conference, and it's not.
Okay, so looks like she's getting to quoting some people.
Yeah.
Let's move up to that.
She has her greatest hits.
Let's see. Emily Drabinsky, president of the American Library Association. Oh my God.
This is one of her greatest hits.
At the Socialism 2023 conference. Let's find out about this shady character.
Come out when I go undercover at these events. I want to share with you a couple of recordings that I took just with a little USB stick in my pocket. And the first recording is of the then president of the American Library Association. Her name was Emily Drabinsky. She is no longer the president of the American Library Association. She has now been seceded by other non-binary people. The American Library Association is basically the professional organization for all librarians across the country. And Emily is a confessed Marxist, and she went around saying right after she got elected to be the head of the American Library Association that she couldn't believe a Marxist lesbian had, been elected to this role and everything. Well, I happened to run into Emily at the Socialism 2023 conference. It was actually a little bit of an accident. And what happened was I was in a session listening to other people talk, and Emily came up to the microphone during the Q&A session. And I want to play you just a recording of what Emily said. Now, it is a little bit hard to hear because this was on a USB device in my pocket, but you will be able to see the words on the screen.
Wearing a wire.
Let me just play this video real quick.
Yeah, probably illegal. I don't know what state she's in, but...
Will be followed by the comrade in the green, followed by the comrade here.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm a librarian. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I just want to say thank you for bringing up libraries and classroom libraries, but also school libraries of all kinds, public libraries and higher education libraries who've been under attack in similar ways. But I think your point that public education needs to be a site of socialist organizing, I think libraries really do too. And I haven't seen that for the working in libraries, but I think
awful undercover audio.
To both connect what's happening in public education, what's happening in libraries, but also
real professional work here.
Yeah.
In the libraries, we need to be on the agenda of social organizing. So
So libraries need to be.
Usually
on the
she's not
agenda.
playing the audio. Usually she just has the text up.
The text up so she can control how the message is received even more.
Yeah.
And sorry for that, Rustbox. The 10-minute delay is only because I used to get a lot more trolls. Hasn't happened as much anymore, but usually the 10 minutes is more than a troll's willing to sit through before they can say their really funny thing that they get banned for. Big Book is in on it. Yeah, like saying the library should be a place for socialists organize. Oh, the horror. That's yeah, really exposing an evil heart at the core of libraries here. I guess we can move on.
Yeah. We don't have to listen to her gab for 10 minutes about every clip she shows. 10 minutes. I think skipping to the next point in the video, if you can use preview.
Sure. I just want to see a little bit more what she says here, but
of socialist organizing from the then president of the American
Mostly
Library
she just
Association.
repeats what you just
Emily
heard.
wasn't the only person I ran into at the socialism conference. I also ran into a guy named Jesse Hagopian. Jesse Hagopian
that was the
is one of our favorite
evidence.
teacher educators, and we follow him all the time. And here's what Jesse Hagopian had to say. We'll play his video next.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm Jesse Hagopian. I'm a teacher in Seattle, and I work with Black Lives Matter at School and the Zen Education Project and Rethinking Schools. So I've actually got to Zoom in and do meetings with classrooms in Florida and with some bold teachers who invited us into the classroom in the tradition of fugitive pedagogy, and smuggling in contraband curriculum. Showing the film, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, and then having us come and discuss systemic racism in a state where it's illegal.
Oh my goodness.
And so that rebellion is inspiring to me, and telling teachers in my state to do this work, if they can do it in those conditions.
So what you heard Jesse Hagopian saying just then was essentially Jesse Hagopian is a high school teacher in Seattle, or he was a high school teacher in Seattle. He seems to be a full-time socialist teacher.
She has to talk out everything because her audience clearly has no literacy.
They cannot pay attention for that long and
or
understand what basic words mean.
Yeah. They can't interpret what they just heard. So she needs to make sure they know exactly
what the line is supposed to be.
But essentially, to get around, teachers in Florida are having other teachers in other states Zoom in. They're not allowed to teach critical race theory, or anything socially conscious. So they're Zooming, calling in other teachers, and then they teach the curriculum on their.
Oh my God, what a plot! That's just.
And Carla's main thing, I mean, it's not her main thing, of course, but I mean, it's what irks me about it, what's annoying about it, is that she'll never counter anything with why this is bad.
That's what I keep waiting for.
Why fascism is correct.
Yeah.
Or why, it's just assume that anyone coming into her space is fascist, already has the set of beliefs, doesn't need to be convinced or reinforced on them.
Already hates socialism.
Or doesn't, just hates socialism. It's just about hating the left.
Yeah.
I think people are there to hate the left.
Yeah.
And so that's all you need.
You just say the thing, and then oh my God.
Because I think if she did take any positions herself, it would give audience members a reason to unfollow her. So her main contention of the main positions she's taking that may lose her followers or gain them is that she fights other people, right wingers, fascists, or whatever, to say she's more anti-socialist than they are. Because she actually puts in the effort to understand
she does the homework,
but you'll notice in all of her content, there is never any call to action. There's never any actual here's what we need to do to fight the left. It's all about her role is merely educating people who hate the left, and then leaving them to their own devices.
Yeah, look at this thing.
She has no organization or strategy that she advocates. she does consider Trump administration to be like a force for good and like the government. So when she'll talk about the left wants to overthrow the government, you know, and talk in terms of how illegal the left wants to do, like how terrible the left wants to do things. And it's taken for granted that like mass deportations are the right thing to do. And it's perfectly great and moral. And so the fact that like we talk about how bad that is, that's just taken for granted that we're crazy. You know, we're
Of course.
pointing that out. Or like any of the content, it's just glazed over.
Sure.
Whatever points we're really making, she just wants to soy face when we say, you know, yeah, we want to kill CEOs, but that's inefficient. We should be organizing the working class to do it,
Right.
or to rather overthrow capital, not CEO.
Take away their power because it's the a systemic problem, not one of individuals who can just.
So she's not an understander of the theories and the strategies as much as she's just an understander of the left talking about our strategies. Like the news she's reporting or the thing she's educating others on is what we say we're doing, and not so much a little bit on why, but only to clarify what we mean when we say imperialism or certain buzzwords.
Yeah.
But she was chewing out someone in her audience in a video I saw today. I was flimsing through, where he said, like, you could learn all of this using ChatGPT,
ChatGPT, yeah.
And she's like, okay, then ask ChatGPT what the left means when they say what their definition of capitalism is. What does the left mean when they say capitalism? And so, like, give it to me. You have 30 seconds, and if you don't, and then interestingly enough, the troll doesn't give a ChatGPT kind of answer. He says, like, oh, the what they mean is whatever they want to at the time. So she's like, ban, get the fuck out of here. She doesn't suffer fools. It's funny.
Oh, that's funny. What a strange niche she has found and carved out for herself.
That's what makes her kind of draw my attention to her.
She can't stand for anything because then she'd give away that she doesn't really know anything. She can't. She doesn't have any calls to action because that would be too close to standing for something.
That would be doing politics.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that like making media like this is not doing politics. It's not even serving any particular cause or agenda. It's just more fuel to people who are against socialism, but will they're really bad at articulating why. I think it's just, it usually depends on some human nature conception, the human nature argument.
Yeah.
I want to be selfish.
People are inherently greedy, so let's make a system that rewards that.
Socialists will stop me from being selfish.
Yeah.
They don't want me to be selfish, and I hate them for it. I'm aggrieved. They want to make me, my way of life, or like this has been mentioned a few times in other streams, lines of media, left media, Bosch and others, that the big aggrievement, right? There's no actual political agenda, rather a policy agenda on the right. Yeah. It's just that they want to be the majority and know that, like, when they see ads or the news, they want to feel normal. But if there's any diversity in anything, then they're not normal. They're part of a chorus. They're part of a plurality.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lack of security in that. I can kind of understand that, but it's the suspicion that those that do not have the same taste as you, or not the same as you, are out to get you, or a threat. Like there's this one example was discussing a boomer comic that semi-viral, where it's a guy who wants black coffee,
I saw that one.
And-
Yeah.
Okay, and the comics joke is that everything else he's being offered all these other things. That
Yeah.
a
Do you want
Starbucks
a
has,
matcha? Do you want
but not black coffee.
half cap? Yeah.
Now the joke's point is not that he couldn't get black coffee at a Starbucks.
Because he
It's that
definitely can.
there's all these other options,
Yes.
and it's somehow and the frustration or the suspicion is that you have to go say no to everything else before you can get black coffee.
Yeah.
It's
just a fantasy.
Or you're not allowed to get black coffee, or that, but the fear is black coffee isn't what's normal. It's not what's expected. I should just have to go up, and black coffee is the only thing, or it's I don't know. It's like, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is they cannot have a vision of the future because they can only look back to this imagined past. So, yeah, what kind of a policy for the future could you possibly have other than let's put things back? And at the same time, they hold that things will never go back, that things we've just gone too far, things aren't like they used to be. It's this kind of like fatalist sort of. We want things to be a certain way that never ever can be. Well, and you know, little do they know that it never was that way in the first place.
Not without a day of the rope and full like genocide.
Well, yeah, I mean that's really the only policy they could ever arrive at is just kill everything that's different so that we can have things like it was in some past that I probably didn't even experience myself, but have just
the other post discussing this kind of thing is that the thing they're imagining as being better was just the advertisements. Like, again, they just want to see advertisements where people are white. They don't want things to be like, they don't need things to be all white. They just want advertisements that like they're white people.
Sure.
And so their imagination of the good times is just from advertisements.
Yeah.
That's how sad.
So sad.
That's how sad and hollow it all is. And so their gratification is, again, through what they're seeing on screens.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in their daily life, though I guess ordering coffee is something in their daily life. But yeah, who is aggrieved when a sandwich shop has more than 3 sandwiches for sale, you know, or something like that. Like,
it was really hurt by that.
Except
we must have watched the same toxic nostalgia video because I'm hearing you bring up a lot of stuff that I remember from that one.
There's a few versions of it. I mean, if it's the Domain or some other creator,
something like that, I believe. But yeah. Okay. Now we've gone far afield again. We can get back into the Borisenko.
Let's go back to center field.
But is she going to actually say anything about what he's saying, or just like, well, socialism bad, let's move on?
But at the time, he was a high school teacher in Seattle, and what was going on was teachers in Florida, where you might think woke curriculum is banned because that's what Ron DeSantis tells you, but there were teachers in Florida working with Jesse Hagopian to actually Zoom Jesse into their classrooms and have Jesse teach the curriculum that was banned in Florida. So the teachers had plausible deniability to say, oh no, it's not us that's teaching it. We're not teaching these things. But they were zooming in someone from across the country to teach the materials that they couldn't teach. This is called fugitive pedagogy or smuggler pedagogy. And this was talked about openly at socialist events that I went undercover at. Another event that I went under.
So again, she's not going to say why that's bad. We just move on to the next one.
Well, because their point is actually just a myth bust, like right wingers who think they're winning. So she wants to like have a scared audience to sell her content to understand the left too. And part of that selling point is the right wingers you're, watching are wrong in that Antifa is in fact a threat, that the left is not, these, woke teachers in Florida are not cowed or being stopped. That, the only way to stop them is by locking them up. We have to hard criminalize, but again, she's not advocating for that. She doesn't have to. She just lets the audience, mind go to the fascist direction. So. But she's admitted, like over the years, like, she sympathizes with the fascists, and Fuentes is like the closest to her in the media sphere.
I just keep waiting for something to be like.
Oh, you know what? I checked her out again because I wanted to know like how she was covering the Kirk death.
Yeah.
Like how is she like going on about that?
Does she cover that in this video at all, or is that
probably not? But
okay?
Notice that her educational content is just, even though she was a trainer, it's just a series of like, it's kind of interesting that this is supposed to be like a thing that teaches you something. It's like teaching kindergarten, I guess, and going through here's a bunch of shapes.
I guess so.
But we're not going to have any activity where you match shapes.
Why shapes are important.
Yeah.
Or how to recognize them in your daily life. It's just there's a shape, I guess.
Undercover at was at the University of Colorado at Boulder. And this was a really crazy event because this was an event where I went to a presentation about how dissociative disorder, or some people might know this colloquially as multiple personality disorder, they did a whole presentation about how dissociative disorder is a literal gender identity. It's called system gender, in which you have multiple beings or entities inside of you, and they all have different genders, and apparently they all have different gender therapists as well. And that person was the system gendered person presenting at the conference. You might think that looks like one person, but that was actually two different people in the presentation. So two different of the alt identities actually presented this presentation. So they switched back and forth between them. There were a lot of people with multiple personality disorder in the room with me. I basically felt like I was surrounded. It was a very interesting experience. This was, of course, all taxpayer funded at the University of Colorado. But the good news is that a week after I showed this presentation to the world, because I recorded the whole presentation, you can actually find it on my Substack, you can find it on my YouTube channel. The University of Colorado decided to dissociate from this particular conference. It was called the Transforming Gender Conference after this. So I guess that was a little bit of win for the undercover work, but that was definitely a crazy event. And what I want people to know about this—
Wait, is she suggesting that her undercover work got them to part ways with particular presenters?
She's done, I think she's claimed that her content has had an effect at like 5 different points.
Oh, wow.
But this is actually, I mean, such a talk is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because you have to hit on some questions like, well, okay, does having multi-personality, like, is it a syndrome, is it a disorder? Was it a mistake to call it these things? Basically, people with multiple personalities are like, no, I'm able to live my life. I don't consider it a disorder. Both of my personalities, because again, it's not like it's in a movie, they're totally different, without, but
yeah,
I think in media, they're like portrayed as totally different. I think in reality, they're just, again, personalities are not different identities. So the talk is more about how all of my different personalities are part of a singular identity. And so let's talk about it in that way. Not that it's a disability that needs to be like cured or makes me a freak and unable to work with people.
But I would assume at this university there's probably a psychology department whose students would be interested in discussing this sort of thing. So to say that, oh my God, it's taxpayer, it's like you say, she's just soy jacking it. It's just, a taxpayer expense. They're talking about this nonsense that you should just find utterly distasteful and ridiculous. But then again, I don't know a whole lot about dissociative personality disorder, but I have heard several times that oftentimes, because these are not exactly separate personalities, but more like a kind of a flattened version or an affect of one person's personality, that they will have different genders, and then sometimes they will present differently.
Kind of like how when someone has a suppressed part of their personality, that they can not unleash it, but they can unrepress it by drinking. So somebody who's been repressed, for a straight gay man, let's say,
Yeah,
they'll get
it
drunk
certainly could be that
so
too.
they can express their homosexuality. It's the only way. They'll start hitting
Sure.
at guys and they'll have gay sex when
Yeah.
they're drunk. Only
They'll
when
pretend it was the lack of inhibition that they were tricked in and all that stuff. Yeah, that certainly could be it too. But that sounds like a fascinating talk that is not at all outrageous or not
yeah.
worthy
But
of
that would be the actual
funding.
content. Her interpretation and selling of it is just like, look at these freaks, and I'm surrounded.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just gesturing. This thing, look, this is so crazy and weird.
Because her audience already
We must
hates
all be disgusted.
difference, But it's
Yeah.
interesting because her audience, they're all faceless people,
I just don't understand
innocent, so.
being a part of that audience. Like,
And she'll keep
doesn't it just
gesturing towards like, I have ex-leftists and Antifa in my audience, and they help me understand this stuff.
yeah, sure.
I don't believe it for a moment.
I don't either. But like, doesn't the stuff just get boring after a while if she's just serving the same slop day after day after day, never really going beyond the surface on anything, never doing more than just gesturing and winking? Doesn't that just get boring? Like, don't you want more at some point? Or is it just you want that confirmation so badly that
It's a lot
everyone
of
is a freak except you?
a lot of their community, call it,
Uh-huh.
is a lot of confirmation bias because like as people are watching the content, they have their culture of like, things they've learned. So she can, when there's a new person, she'll test them or like, okay, pop quiz, everybody. What do they mean when they say this? And it's a little bit of a game. Everybody starts typing and answering in the chat. And she's like, no. Oh, there it is. Reagan got it right. So there's a playfulness to the dynamics. She considers herself a teacher. She's like, this is my classroom. You sit down and shut up. If when people want to argue with her. And then she rants about, I've gone through thousands of hours of videos, and no. And she's collecting a zine library. She wants to collect zines. Oh yeah, and she went to like kind of community events, like one in Boston, and she just picked up a bag full of free lit. It's like they just had it all out, and I'm seeing lit. I'm like, how to do Antifa, and it's just out there, and a zine, short for magazine, is basically a punk lingo for a self-made magazine. So let's say you write a comic, you write some poetry, and you use, because this is something that was the advent of technology creating new culture with the availability of Xerox machines. Punks would be able to basically scribble stuff on paper, fold it up, make copies of it, and then basically make like a bag full of their zines, because it's literally something in your pocket, and then they'd hand them out at punk shows or whatever. Yeah. So there's a whole zine subculture, very big in the 80s and early 90s with punk scenes. And in say Toronto, there's a zine library, and obviously if you go online, so one of her streams was going through like a queer zine, and being all soy jacked at any show of nudity and showing off of bodies and spaces.
Oh my goodness,
that were not. They didn't look like supermodels. They were punk women.
Yeah. Yeah, so I left a link there for you. Just a basic primer on what zines are. One of the ideas is you can just take a piece of paper or two, you fold it a certain way, and then you have a certain number of pages. You tell your story on it, and it's a small thing you can just kind of pass out wherever. Usually it includes some artistic stuff in it as well, not just the whatever message is being showed. It's pretty cool. And welcome in, Dancer. Good to see you. We are talking, or we're watching a video from Karlin Borsenko, who considers herself, she fancies herself a socialism educator from the right. Basically, she is a fascist who infiltrates these secret left-wing spaces by like, you know, paying to join a Zoom, or maybe paying a little bit of money to go to one of these conferences at a university, and then she like secretly tapes it and talks about, and it doesn't really say much of anything about it. She just repeats what they say. She kind of vaguely gestures, "Oh my God, that's disgusting," and then moves on. So,
Though there is an example of where I would say she is actually kind of infiltrating and does make me sweat a little bit, is when she joins organizing calls,
okay,
which are public facing, so speakers will likely choose their words carefully. But it does give her opportunity to be a snitch
sure,
in certain capacities. If there isn't already a police informant there, of course, but
yeah,
but she'll like, one of the things she's promoting as being like the thing, like part of her daily talking points, is the general strike in 2028 that some of the big unions are kind of pushing towards. Do you know of this? The UAW and
no, I didn't know they were actually doing a serious push again for that.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're putting it, 3 years away.
Yeah,
For May Day of 2028. So she's kind of like, she can milk that as like, the 3 years up to that point is like the leftists are preparing to overthrow the government on May 1st, 2028.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Tim Pool, like Civil War. It's coming.
Yeah,
or the Rapture, which was
but they always got to be careful. Like these doomsday prophets, every time when that date comes and goes, nothing happens. Like no matter what, they're gonna lose a big chunk of people that are just like, well, you're full of shit.
Maybe.
Like this big thing didn't happen. So
maybe.
You know, I guess
what annoys me the most is calling the left a cult.
Oh God, yeah.
What kind of annoys me, because like after everything she's going through and all of her rhetoric about how the left are smarter than you think, but then we're still in a cult. Like, fuck you. But anyway, let's give this another 10 minutes, and we'll just
sure. Yeah,
fun.
we can move on from there.
Something left wing oriented.
Yeah, right. All right.
This is events like this are not unusual. Events like this happen all over the country all the time. And we are actually very lucky in that most of the time, I don't even have to get on a plane and fly to these events, because the vast majority of the events that we go undercover at, or I'll use undercover rather colloquially, they're actually just virtual events, because it makes sense for the left to use the internet to organize. It's cheaper, it's more effective, you can reach more people, you can do events over and over and over again, you can have as many people as you want in a room, you don't have to pay rental fees, you don't have to organize, food and drink and coffee and all that stuff that you might have to do with an in-person event. So the vast majority of leftist organizing actually does take place online to a really great degree. Now, that doesn't mean they don't do things in the real world. Of course, we see things like the Zoran Mandami campaign in New York City. They're out knocking on doors and making phone calls, just like any other political campaign does. In fact, they're knocking on a lot of doors and making a lot of phone calls. So I don't want to make it seem like the left doesn't do anything in the real world. They do a lot of things in the real world, and certainly those are events we want to cover. But in terms of understanding what the left believes, in terms of understanding what they're doing, how they think, how they operate, how they're communicating with each other, how they're organizing, we have access to so much information on the internet. We have access to more information than we can ever watch. And so most of the work that I do is just spent watching the presentations, listening to the language they're using, listening to the tactics they're talking about using, because when the left puts presentations online, they're not doing it to market to a mass audience. They're doing it to communicate with each other. But people like us that are vehemently against what the left is trying to do, we can watch those presentations and we can learn from those presentations, and we can use that to try to get ahead of the left or outsmart them, or try to basically throw sand in their gears so that they at least are slowed down a little bit. I do believe the left is winning. People don't like to hear this, but I absolutely believe the left.
I've never heard that before. Sand slows gears down. That's
it's
a
an
small.
interesting
That's a minor
communication.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a minor point there. Yeah, or outsmart us.
Yeah, but I mean, how can she outsmart us when we're just so cunning and devious that we can get around all of their
And she doesn't propose anything.
salted
I've watched a few of her streams over the 2 years or so, and she doesn't propose any like ways of getting ahead of the left. It's kind of funny, but that just goes to like her model is to just get her audience afraid, and it's like, well, and then her pitch is you need to understand the left more, and you need my content. You know, my course, my online course, my and this and that. Let's see if we can find one more thing.
Sure. We'll speed ahead a little bit.
Yeah,
I wonder what that course is like.
Or put it on 2-speed or something. I don't know.
Let's just go ahead to something.
Yeah.
Let's see. Capitalism is always the target.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what she's got to say.
That is a function of capitalism. Settler colonialism, which is why the left
back
doesn't
up just a little
goals
bit.
that the left is working on at all.
Oh yeah, the four goal. Yeah, the four goals.
Carlin, what about
she'll constantly repeat that the left has 4 goals. This is what she's come across as she's listened to enough campus org talks. We have
as much power as possible. Okay, well that's the goal of any political movement. Destabilize the system. Well, yeah, we're against the system because it does not serve most people. Attack capitalism, sure. Okay. To be a socialist means to not be a capitalist. So I guess she is technically right. Usher in their Marxist utopia. Well, I have yet to meet anyone who believes that ushering in socialism would be some sort of utopia is in the way that she's using it. So, I mean,
the destabilize the system part is where it can kind of get confused because you confuse cheering on the instability in the system.
Sure.
Like that can count. But she's referring to any like queering, queer theory and other things where it's like we need to disrupt the patriarchy by, doing queerness.
Okay.
And normalizing polyamory or something.
And she thinks that is somehow destabilizing the capitalist system? Okay.
Well, because feminist Marxists will they abolish the family theorists. And by abolish, and this is something I think we need to brainstorm, and every leftist needs to brainstorm. When any leftist uses abolish blank, we mean critical reform of blank.
Yeah.
It's not a pithy slogan, though. So we need a pithy slogan that communicates critical reform of blank, but punchy, so it can work as a slogan or a bumper sticker. Because the consensus, at least as far as the masses are concerned, the word abolish is entirely negative and does not resonate.
Yeah, just violent destruction of anyone who believes in.
So we should stop using it. But critical reform is then boring and not like well understood either.
I mean, at least in terms of like talking about abolishing the family or the nuclear family or whatever, I think we can just say expand the family, expand what family is.
Yeah.
Because in that specific case, we're not trying to stop anyone from having a nuclear family. We're not saying that that's even a bad thing if that's what you want to go for, but just allowing people that don't fit into that to have more freedom themselves.
Yeah, I mean, there's fear. Like, I guess if we pick a word like expand, depending on what we're talking about. So, like, expand the family could work. You could, because it'd be hard to, like, you'd have to stretch or, like, be deliberate and, like, expand meaning grow families. They want bigger families. Or, like, if we said expand,
the concept of family.
Yeah, or like, if it was expand policing. What do we think? We think more policing then, not
right. See, that's where it doesn't work as well. But I think just in terms of talking about abolishing the family, as Engels would talk about it.
Well, when we say abolish ICE, we do mean like
Do away with ICE. ICE has
away-
no legitimate purpose. Yes.
do away with that department.
That's the thing, because in some of these instances, we do mean literally abolish it. We don't want policing that is just in service of capital, although some safety measures and there needs to be some measure of safety in any community, and it's not just going to happen through socialist reform. Even if everyone had whatever they needed, there's still going to be some violence. So that's not. We do mean abolish the police as it is, but like reimagine is a better word in that case.
But to me, change like anything else that isn't critical reform is then too nebulous. Like it's not. It's too loose of a word.
Yeah.
And reimagine policing. Well, what do we mean by that? That's not communicating either.
True. But yes, abolish ICE.
Okay, so the brainstorm continues. But as
Yeah.
far as the family, we can say, yeah, expand the family. If it's prisons, we could just say reform prisons, because if you reform prisons enough, then they will be completely different than what we have.
Yeah.
If it's, I guess we usually use abolish. Police is the thing that's like, because right now, like the policy platform is merging policing, like making it part of a general safety plan for a municipality. A safety, like I think that's an interesting language. So like when you have an individual, like in a school, progressive schools will like say like, okay, this kid, this student has problems, they're acting up. We create instead of just putting out fires, if somebody has a pattern of disruption, we'll create a safety plan for them. It's called.
Yeah.
And interestingly, activist Lukey Forbes, who's sort of a peer of mine, and we would be political rivals in the ward if we were both running for council, that we both started running for council. In fact, I'll probably vote for him. He is still on the ballot, so he'll be should ask him, like, hey, are you campaigning? Maybe we should campaign for you.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd help you campaign on in the last few weeks here. But
sorry, go ahead.
He has his organization where basically it's mentoring Black youth, essentially just taking them to public meetings, but by doing so, they get a political education, see where the limits are, and teach them how to do outreach and canvassing. And but his org has also put out kind of a platform of sorts, and he calls it a safety plan for the city.
Yeah.
Which is
I like that.
Yeah, because a safety plan does it's a checklist of things you do with somebody.
It's not saying what they always accuse of is we just want anarchy and looting in the streets and stuff. It's saying we still care about safety. We just don't feel that the police increase safety.
But we should plan safety. Safety.
Yes, it has to be deliberate,
because otherwise it's just reactive.
Yeah, which
we're
is
just
what the police are.
We're waiting for someone to run someone over with their car.
Right.
Or this or that. But safety plan, like his platform, is a shitload of programming.
Yeah.
And he wants it all funded, and he gets pretty sore when it isn't. Because hell, there's all this funding for all this other stuff like policing.
I like that. And I think that is a more palatable message or a more easy to understand message for normies than even defund the police was. Because when they're like, defund the police, what you mean? You want less safety in our streets? You want even more criminal gangs coming around and all that stuff?
We associate policing with safety, and we're coming from a premise that police are unsafe.
Yeah, often because of the unsafety.
And that is not the perception of the masses.
Yeah.
I'm using that.
So that's good. I like that safety plan. I'll have to think about that. That's good. We should probably continue on with the video. Police the police. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that even that is close to adequate, Rustbox. Just doing policing reform, like that's.
having them carry their own insurance. That reform is kind of goes under that.
Sure.
Because then they'll police themselves.
Because there actually would be consequences if they end up getting sued. It's not just the city taking the hit. That's a fair point. All right, let's move on then.
This, what about that? What about that other thing? No.
So the four
These are
four
the
goals
things
of the
that they're
left.
trying to do at all
The woke
times.
left.
And
The-
every single
the
tactic
woke
the
left.
left does
Excuse me.
achieves one or more of these four goals. So
She
again,
wrote this
this is
4 years
gain as
ago.
much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. And capitalism is always the target. This is a meme that went around Twitter. And actually, I have to give Reagan a shout out. Reagan's in the chat. This meme actually didn't originally look like this, because this meme actually used to have Palestine at the center of the issue. However, when we saw this meme, we were like, "Oh no, you've got it messed up a little bit." And Reagan actually took the time to make the meme more accurate. So if you've seen this meme running around Twitter where Palestine is at the center of it, that's not accurate. They're so close. Some people are so close, but what we're really going to talk a lot about tonight is how capitalism bleeds into everything. And this is the piece that most people don't understand. When we're talking about racism, that's a function of capitalism. When we're talking about the patriarchy or gender, that's a function of capitalism. When we're talking about masculinity, white supremacy, that's a function of capitalism. Palestine is even a function of capitalism. The environmental stuff, climate change, that is a function of capitalism. Settler colonialism, which is why the left doesn't like Israel, that is a function of capitalism. All of these issues are fundamentally connected because the left believes that capitalism, which they define very, very, very specifically, causes every single problem. Understand?
Yeah. So I'd say that's almost true. It almost is an accurate picture, except for that not any one of those things would just completely go away if there wasn't capitalism. There's always going to be bigoted and racist people, misogynistic, people that want to dominate. These people will always exist in one form or another. You don't just change the entire human race by getting rid of one system.
But you can make it harder.
Yeah, and capitalism certainly exacerbates all of these problems. Capitalism brings all these problems to the fore and makes them much larger problems than they need to be. It certainly thrives off of all of these things.
That's a weird turn of phrase, though. Environmental terrorism.
Yeah, I'm
That's
not really sure.
This goes to show that green politics is not very strong in American leftism, because a lot of the terminology, ecocide, ecological limits, boundaries, like all of our lingo and jargon is not hasn't spread out. Because the DSA doesn't use it all the time. Like it's sort of
really
used. The ecological or environmental angle is sort of just included in a hand wave kind of fashion. It's not really center. It's not centered.
It's been a while since it's been at the fore.
Environmental justice or environmental racism is something that's like it's understood through other lenses, but most socialists or leftists are not starting from environmentalism, which is rare these days. It's sort of interesting that since the 90s, I suppose, you don't have environmentalists that go leftist. You have leftists that maybe incorporate environmentalism, but they do so I've noticed, in a weak fashion, unless it's very deliberate, like myself and other Greens, other eco-socialists. So using that label eco-socialist is definitely a way of differentiating that. I'm putting green politics, I'm centering that in my socialism and leftism, since it does mean something particular to what the common good means. That it means living well within limits. It's not just maximizing worker benefits. Or more welfare.
Mm-hmm. It's unclear kind of why they put some of these circles next to one another. I mean, obviously, settler colonialism goes right along with issues with Palestine. Also goes along with racism. I guess more Islamophobia than
it's just a diagram. It's more of a graphic than a tool of analysis.
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
It's art. It's more art than science here.
Yeah, and private property, of course, is going to be defined as anything that's not the government. So
that's if she, what she hits to, like, why does she like hate communists, or why anti-socialism, anti-communism?
yeah,
Like, it's just about private property. It's like they want to do away with private property, and I love my stuff.
yeah,
I like my stuff. Like, you start as a liberal, but once you learn that communists want to take your, liberalism, or a threat to it, then you go fascist.
and you go fast because there's
It's so
no other
quick.
way to get back to capitalism.
In 3 years, Natalie Wynn will be a fascist.
Oh God, I hope not.
Mark my word.
That's been a tragic trajectory of hers. I've hated to see that.
It was always there, though.
I mean, it must have been. She just didn't want to engage with certain realities. But
as we discussed with Bad Empanada's kind of take on it, that she was always criticizing the left from, like, she was always like the what was it? The presentation is like, I'm criticizing the left from the left.
Yeah.
But the more I would watch of her, and this is going back to like 2015 or 16.
Sure.
I was like, is she really a leftist? I'm not convinced. I think being woke or having an academic background, and she's left leaning, of course. She's a rad lib most, but she doesn't even sound that radical sometimes with the way she talks about. If she ever talks about policy, she's just a liberal. That's something I noticed.
Yeah, I guess that is the truth.
And if the left threatens liberals, then they will turn into fascists.
Yeah. Age-old phrase. Yeah. All right, let's continue on with this diagramming.
When we're talking about racism, that's a function of capitalism. When we're talking about the patriarchy or gender, that's a function of capitalism. When we're talking about masculinity,
it all supports
white
capitalism,
supremacy,
for sure.
that's a function of capitalism. Palestine is even a function of capitalism. The environmental stuff, climate change, that is a function of capitalism. Settler colonialism, which is why the left doesn't like Israel, that is a function of capitalism. All of these issues are fundamentally connected because the left believes that capitalism, which they define very, very, very specifically, causes every single problem. So this slide is a slide, and you can see this is actually a DSA image. And this slide was a slide that I got out of a conference that was sponsored by the community college system in California, where they're flat out laying it out. And this person's talking about, what do I mean by liberation? Liberation means working collectively to guarantee us all housing as a human right, food is a right, movement is a right, universal health care, universal child care. The left believes that if we can just take all the resources, all of the private property, all of the money in society right now, and we use that to, just we're going to buy all the houses, or we're going to procure all the houses, and we're going to distribute the houses so that everyone has a place to live. We're going to distribute all the food. What could go wrong with having the left in control of the food supply? We're going to make sure we manage all health care, universal health care for all, no private doctors, no private insurance, universal child care, no parental rights for everyone. We're going to talk about that. The left believes that literally all the problems we have in society are caused by capitalism, and they believe that if we can just get rid of capitalism, all of these problems will be solved. And when you hear them say the term liberation,
that doesn't even make sense, because then it's not as though they would just be presto solved. You have to implement these programs. It's almost like she thinks that we're advocating for, if let's just do 100% tax on all income and everything, just bring it all into the government, and then for a little while we'll be able to fund all these programs. And we're not realizing that in the meantime all this stuff is just going to wither and die because we've taxed it out of existence.
Well,
that's where she's coming from.
Sure, because she starts from like this ANCAP position, and ideology, and what a lot of the confusion in ingesting all of the left-wing content she does is that a lot of it no one is clearly articulating what their ideological position is, what their strategic position is,
Hmm.
what their tendencies are. And because a lot of people aren't good at that. And I consider it one of those, maybe not necessary, but it's a good skill. And I think it's something that like more people should do. I think the first step is like taking the political compass test or something. But
Sure.
this is just the most basic, basic bitch version. But there should be better. I think the 8 values can get you a little
8
closer.
values is a
But
lot.
I would like to see some
Makes sense.
quizzes, and maybe I could like try my hand at writing them to have like kind of a political, like your ideological tendency and your strategic tendency. These are 2 different things.
That's really critical, and I don't think.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I don't think any of these really capture that. 8 values does a little bit in terms of its. I think one of the dynamics was like revolution versus reform, right?
It does include both. It does include
Yeah,
strategy and positions on
a little bit, yeah.
whatever. And so like instead of the axis to the economic and social axis, it's actually once your quadrant is determined, then within that quadrant is a whole host of other questions and axes that you can explore.
Yeah,
This is something JREG makes fun of. But including that would be strategic axes, an axis for electoralism, an axis for so here. I'm going to share. Actually, can I share my screen?
you should be able to. I think
share
I've
screen.
authorized you.
Yeah. Okay.
I can.
I spent last week making this graphic here. If you can make that.
I'm just gonna hide.
Yeah.
Carlin for a second.
You can even hide me.
Big.
Good. So I created this based on an article that I kind of liked. Not all of it, of course, but yeah, Eric Lefkowitz, 28 Types of Progressive.
Okay.
And so he was writing for the Intelligencer. So think Washington Post, Beltway columnist, kind of progressive, like a Warren. He's a Warrenite.
Sure.
Because that's kind of where his the second half of his article is kind of about that. And so I'm not going down that rabbit hole, that his bullshit there. But the first half of his article was differentiating for his audience, his readers, the different kinds of progressives. In that, like, look, the fighting or any infighting on the left are kind of splits with on these questions. Because to be on the left is to consider the collective good to be more important than protecting private property.
Yeah.
And what this means mostly economically is that you share incomes or the wealth that's generated, or property, you earn incomes. And that's how people think of it, that you earn your place in society. You earn the wealth you have, even though that's not what capitalists are doing. But then there's the questions of how to maximize the collective good. And he has these 3 categories that he comes up with, which I think map onto a lot of different tendencies pretty well. Cornucopians, the answer is maximizing plenty via growth. Green, minimizing negative impacts or living well within ecological limits. So, like, if anything, like within the Green Party, there's a whole lot of other tendencies, but
Yeah.
that's sort of what everyone kind of agrees on as far as like that mindset. And then the liberationist, which is any kind of more extreme, or communist, which is to minimize the unfreedom from work or freedom from exploitation.
Yeah.
So it's not, you'll notice that in liberation ideologies, the goal is not to maximize material benefit, even. It's to minimize exploitation.
Minimize coercion, yeah.
That's the real goal of the communists, to like, the state is a source of coercion, the markets, currency, the money, and the property. So that's what we're looking to abolish, those things. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So that's a general goal. But then there's the means. How do we do this? So this is where a lot of other tendencies kind of come from, based under these rubrics. So I listed them. And this was his kind of listing, but I think I added them a little bit based on my understanding. So within cornucopians, you have left neoliberals. So this is like your mainline Democrat
Yeah.
that is like, to them being on the left means market interventions, doing incentives or intervening in the marketplace. Most progressives in the Democrats, at least the politicians, Lieutenant Governor Delgado, when talking about housing policy, he's like, oh, we should provide easy loans for like a program for first-time home buyers. Like, that's not social housing. That's not making housing cheaper. That's just allowing more people to participate in the market.
Yeah.
That's what left neoliberal does versus a right neoliberal, which is, I guess, subsidies for like a corporatist. Subsidies.
Yeah, right. Corporate welfare.
Whatever. So social Dems for mixed economy, socialists, planned economy, democratically planned economy. So most of DSA Democrats are like social Democrats or socialists, but they're cornucopians. They don't talk ecologically most of the time. They do, it's lip service. They're not really incorporating it into the policy. Greens, in the Green Party, I would say we have a right wing, which are eco-liberals, which are for a mixed economy.
Yeah.
And eco-socialists for a democratically planned economy. Those are the two wings of the Green Party, right and left wing. And that makes sense. I think I like that mapping a lot more, though some Greens are also sock dem cornucopians. So I'm kind of thinking that any organization, if it has a tent at all, that it can maybe contain a certain number of these 7 tendencies. But if it has too many or more than 3, then it falls apart. Or they're like, there'll be, for example, so in the third category, liberationists, you'll have basically two kinds of communists. Right communists that are statist, MLs, MLMs, whatever, and anarchists, ANCOMs, and whatever. So, which is that, again, this is just a question of the means. Taking state power versus building up community organizations.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the means of like, okay, using what kind of economy, markets or not, those are the questions that separate leftists once they're agreed to talk about like what they want to do overall. And sometimes you'll have the infighting or the confusion happens where you have people from the tendencies in the right column of the means collaborate, but they actually disagree on the collective good question. So I'll be in a socialist group, but half of the people there are pro-nuclear because they're cornucopians. And to be anti-nuclear is to be green. Or Greens will be anti-nuclear. And you'll have socialists lionizing, being like, how can anyone be anti-nuclear? It's so stupid to be anti-nuclear. It's because they do not seem to understand the position of a green socialist, of an eco-socialist. That there actually are in tension with a different tendency, but it's not viewed that way.
Yeah.
Why? Because we'll be working together because we agree on strategy. So going up to that upper thing there. So there's 2 kinds of categories for strategy, which is an electoral optimist and an electoral pessimist. And so those break down into 2 splits, which is if you're an optimist, you're a democratic reformer, which is the DSA or any kind of entryist for the Democratic Party, but you're doing so as the left wing of the Dems. Or you're iconoclastic, which is any third party formation, like the Greens. Electoral pessimists can split between, I think where a lot of people are at, maybe the majority even, are harm reducers, which is that, look, our goal is really just to reduce harm, and that means keeping the Republicans out of office, even, we're not for the Dems. But we can't change anything.
They're the least bad of the 2 evil options.
Right. Just maintaining the Dems or trying to encourage their best, like the Dems in the best way, to have for them to follow through on their quote unquote values. Liberalism, I guess. And through, maintaining liberalism, there's more opportunities for the left. And then the other half is also what I see in leftist space is the post-electoral. You're pessimistic about electoralism. We're working in institutions. They're too reactionary. They're left, they're left communists.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, you got to operate outside the electoral.
Turning back around to the Lenin. And but this includes any other kind of strategy that doesn't involve, I guess, the government, though.
Yeah.
So it covers a lot of different strategies, but they all can be grouped together as the system can't be reformed. We're going to do something small scale where we can have an impact with a few $100s and a few people. But it is pessimistic because it's pessimistic about taking power. You avoid it, or you're pessimistic about people shouldn't be in charge at all anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Or it will just corrupt us if we take this power.
Yeah.
So there's no point in putting our efforts into it.
Yeah, I can't be a leader. I would be corrupted myself.
Sure. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to work on principle. I'd have to compromise at some point to work with others. So this is I'm really interested in this. I made this graphic in order for myself as well, but to kind of share that this would be a good way of understanding, and it could be expanded because obviously the writer kind of comes from a certain perspective. But the fact that he was able to kind of articulate all of this was impressive to me.
Yeah.
And I put that star next to the social dems there because he points out that this is where a majority of workers and the masses are at. Right? If they identify as the left at all, it's that they believe in a mixed economy to maximize personal benefit or community benefit via economic growth. So when you're a degrowther, you're fighting against that. If you're a liberationist, you're definitely fighting against that. So all these other tendencies are sort of in tension from a majority of workers are at if they're left leaning. Because they all think a mixed economy is we still need markets, of course. We wouldn't have any liberal freedom if we didn't have any markets, or whatever, or even private property. But they are willing to put the collective good over that, which is why when I talk to anyone who's any left leaning, community ownership is something that they're positive about, even if they're not gung ho about it.
Interesting.
But last week I talked to someone who is, and so my plan next year is to be involved with the community investment trust that was started 5 years ago, actually, but I only heard about it 2 years ago. And they have an opening. They have a board opening for someone who can do outreach. So I need to get involved. And I know that there's no political future unless you're on some boards. That's kind of how you get clout and establish yourself. Because it's sort of that wheel of opportunities.
Sure.
Where being on one board will get you in contact with other people who work on things. So that
start opening.
You build up that network of people who know other people, or rather are also, if not maybe not thought leaders, but they interact with other people, dozens of people, and they can mention you. Or they can show up when you run for office. So making friends is the building block of politics.
Absolutely true.
So, stop sharing.
Cool.
So I like making
I like that. I'd like to see that come into some sort of a quiz at some point.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, my current project, though, I have to shift for the next month, is putting together
I'm not saying there's any rush, but
we have the ranked choice voting campaign in Albany that's gearing up, and us Greens want to do our own event to educate about proportional ranked choice voting. So I'm working on putting together the material or the content of that. Because again, the goal is to do that around Election Day, maybe the week after, or the Thursday after Election Day.
Okay.
Because we don't want to wait too long, but because it's about shifting those already involved with this campaign towards our way of thinking. because
That makes sense.
we need to at least talk about it first.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and we
Gotta
want
plant that seed.
this well attended, yeah, because we're going to be a partner, and we don't want to be sidelined later. And we also want to kind of convince everyone involved in the campaign. It's like, this is the position we should just start with and not worry about like what we can sell later. But it's like, let's start here and we can compromise with just regular ranked choice voting. But the proportional ranked choice voting is like the best. And it's actually what Portland has. So maybe we need to talk to people.
Really? I didn't realize they had that.
Yeah. And technically Minneapolis has it, but only for
We don't have proportional as far as I know.
But only for 2 at-large commissioner seats. That's what.
Is it proportional though? I know it's ranked choice. It's ranked choice for, I believe, all city elections.
All of it, yeah. But it said it was proportional because there were like 2 at-large seats.
Okay.
And there was multiple.
I didn't realize it even gone that far. That's cool.
So it was a multi-member election, not member district, but a multi-winner race. But it was just for like 2 board positions.
Sure.
That are at large. But maybe that was for a different city. It was a list of from Fair.
Sure.
I was reviewing all this stuff yesterday. I'll be doing more of that this week. As I kind of make a list of things to kind of pursue and read. Okay, so we got a little bit of time left. Do you want to keep going with this?
Yeah, let's keep going.
But definitely with this slide of hers, like with liberation, so a lot of the talks she's listening to, they're campus orgs with particular tendencies that they don't identify with that well. Like they make a point not to, but it's also like if you ask them what their tendency is, they may not know.
Yeah.
And like it's a sort of wall I run into with campus where I say like, well, why are you the revolutionary communists? Why don't you all join PSL? And putting aside that it could be, well, why doesn't everyone in PSL join the revolutionary communists? But it's like, well, what is the difference? Why don't you talk to each other and merge?
Or at least work together in some capacity.
And no one can articulate that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But I think maybe their tendencies are different in the way like my little chart showed, but they aren't good at articulating it themselves. So like what I kind of figured out with this tendency chart is that like the Greens used to have kind of liberation, anarcho-liberationists. Or I would think that they would belong in the Greens, that they could fit if they're electoral optimists. But a lot of them left, and because and I could see why, that like all of our other tendencies are kind of statist, right? In some way. And so like involve economic planning, whatever, not like they're not anarchists.
Sure.
So I can kind of understand why they left, and they formed the Libertarian Socialist Caucus and the Libertarian Party. I met a few, and so like when they left, it was like no hard feelings, but especially with the eco-socialist rising, it's like you guys are trots, and the too many tendencies in one place. Like when it's eco-liberals, maybe they could they navigate that, but for me, it's like I can understand like a lot of people. It's that sort of like, well, we're not radical enough because we have eco-liberals like Jill Stein. And to others, it's like, well, there's too many socialists here. So they'll go to DSA or something. But again, that's a question of strategy. And like, well, how much developed do we need to develop our own institutions before you split with the Dems? Okay, let's we got 10 more minutes.
Yeah, we should
See what we can get on.
Hurry along.
Liberation is always the goal with the far left, and they will say this flat out. Now, I want to play you a video. This video, I just want people to get a sense of
my final kind of through line with everything I've been talking about is that there is a flattening of the left, right? Even radical left, the far left, there's a flattening of tendencies.
Sure.
So Carlin, as well as any observer, even a left-wing one, kind of can get confused about who they're watching, what kind of tendency is being represented, because that's not clear. So to Carlin, who's very much not like coming from a leftist perspective, it's like she listens to a liberationist and is like, all the extreme left are liberationists. And so a lot of her content is this flattening of the far left being one, like talking about it as a monolith.
Sure.
Even though all of this different content is in fact coming from different tendencies, different points of view,
Yeah.
different not academic, but intellectual backgrounds. Not background, what's the traditions?
Yeah.
And flattening it as like understanding it as the same, like as one.
Sure. That certainly serves her purposes, because making it just one faceless monolith, then anytime you hear any of these things, you go, oh, I know what I'm looking at. It's that left cropping up again. So I already know that I hate it all because of whatever I saw.
But what it comes through as her audience members will kind of pick up on the differences, and they'll be confused.
Really?
But like a lot of conspiracy theorists kind of do, like she has to sell like a theory of a theory of the left of everything that covers everything.
Kind
in
of
the
ad
same
hoc
way that someone who has like their conspiracy theory brain has to put chemtrails, weather machines, bunkers, moon fake landing, like they have to put all those ideas and combine it into one super conspiracy.
Yeah.
She does that with the left, and that confuses people because they do in fact can maybe pick apart. That's like, well, what this lecturer is saying doesn't sound like the same thing as the other talk. How is this possible? Like, who's the real leftist here? It's like, and she has to go like, well, they're all the left, but it's like, and it's all true. It's all true.
Yep. It's one grand conspiracy. I don't know. All right.
How ridiculous it is sometimes to hear the left talk about these things. And it always makes me laugh, because people on the right used to always tell me, Carlin, the left never talks about capitalism. Why are you always talking about capitalism? The left never talks about capitalism. Well, guess what? If you actually listen to the left, they talk about capitalism literally all the time. And I promise you, we're going to play you so many clips tonight where you're going to hear them talk about this. Once you start hearing it, and once you start noticing the pattern where this is the thing that is at the focal point of what they're doing all the time, you will never hear things the same again. So this is actually a training that I infiltrated not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. And this was actually an organizing call for the Mayday Strong organization, which is an organization that is led by the National Education Association, the teachers unions. And these are some of the people that are organizing protests all over the country right now. Actually, there was a protest today called the Good Trouble protest. They weren't really involved in that, but you are going to see other protests that the Mayday Strong Coalition is organizing. And predominantly, these are the protests you're going to see the teachers unions involved in, like the Chicago Teachers Union is very involved with this group.
Good
this
Trouble
was an
was just
organizing call they
Democrats,
had a couple
by the
weeks ago, and I want to play you the video of this lady talking on the call, and you guys are going to freak out. And it was so great. Okay, here she is.
Thank you for having me. And greetings, comrades. I greet you as comrades because I am coming to you with optimism, seriousness, as well as a revolutionary spirit. And I want to talk to you about revolutionary spirit in both the moment of revolution. This is a moment where we have to be willing to imagine big, to imagine bold, and to think beyond this current moment. A sobering reality is that we got here because the thing right before it led us to it. We cannot wish for the society of 2 years ago, of 3 years ago, of 5 years ago. We have to be willing to imagine something radically different, because here is the truth. Any semblance of transphobia, patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism, are ingredients and recipe for fascism. If you don't get there quickly, you'll get there eventually. And that is what happened in front of us. We cannot allow these systems of oppression to exist. They are incompatible with our visions of freedom and our visions of liberation. And we have to be bold enough, courageous enough to imagine a different world and be willing to stake our very lives on it. And I am saying that to you very seriously and not in a dramatic term. Our lives are at stake. Our enemy is pro-war. They are pro-profit. They are anti-people and anti-planet. We are pro-people, pro-planet, pro-peace, right? These are our enemies. They intend to destroy us, our bodies, our lives, the planet, and we must be clear. And the way that we can ensure that we not only defeat the far right, which is absolutely our objective right now, but the way that we can ensure that we don't wind up in the same situation 50 years later, because what I know to be true is that we, the people, can defeat a thing. I come from a people that have defeated chattel enslavement on this very earth. I come from a people that have defeated Jim Crow as an institution. I come from a people currently battling the prison industrial complex, and we will defeat that. So I am confident in our ability to defeat a thing. What I am agitating and challenging us on is to not only to show up to defeat the thing, but for us to be the ones to fundamentally transform society so that 20 years from now, another generation of us isn't facing fascism again. Again, we cannot look for the world of 5.
So I'm just going to pause it there. I think you kind of get the idea about that. But listen, this person is talking about fundamentally changing society. That means a revolution against capitalism. That's what they mean when they say that. This person is talking about how capitalism is the epicenter of what they're doing. This person is talking about how capitalism is literally trying to kill them. And I really want people to understand this, because this is not a small thing. And we're going to talk specifically about what the left means by capitalism in a moment here, but it's really not a small thing, because think about what happens when you have an enemy that you very literally believe is going to kill you and is going to kill every member of your family. That is what they believe capitalism is doing. And so we're going to get into the introduction of what does capitalism actually mean. I do want to remind people that that if you have questions at any point during this presentation, please feel free to put them in the Q&A tab. You can find the Q&A tab at
yes. How silly it is to think that, let's say you're in Gaza, to think that imperial capitalism, settled colonial state, is out to kill you and everyone you know.
Yeah. The private property means your home. No.
Oh yeah, this is part of her rant thing. By the way, like when she's
your land. Well, not necessarily, not unless it's used for the means of production. In that case, yeah, it can be collectivized. But your business, yeah. Well, I mean, that's not to say there wouldn't be any business. It's just that it would be owned by the people that.
Some black socialists pointed out that like black people hate capitalism but love business. You know, we all want us to have our own business, but capitalism. It's kind of it kind of shows like and keep going.
It's sad because I can see, you know, if you're feeling like you've been oppressed for hundreds of years now, and the people that are doing the oppressing have this thing called a business that they can do that oppressing with. Well, the only way that you can get out of that is to do it yourself. If you can't beat it, you got to join it. So I feel bad for the black business movement, but
well, you're joining the market, but you're doing your own business.
Right.
So the assumption is that like I'm doing it better, I'm doing it separate, I'm doing it for my people.
Not recognizing that the capitalist system is still going to hold the majority of your people down. Even
black billionaires are not.
Even if the black people are at the top as well.
The black community, because it's not all one thing. It's divided in class, and it's its own mass of people.
So the private property continues on. Your rental properties. I feel faint that they would ever threaten my rental properties, my God-given right to extract.
I wonder how our audience has rental properties.
I'm guessing a lot of them do. Probably part of their retirement portfolio. Your parental rights. Well, that's pretty amorphous and ambiguous. What that means? Your right to like beat your kid? Well, sure. Your right to
It's the negative rights argument that giving
yeah
kids rights, which is what not family abolition, but the sorry, what's the fucking? I have a new book, adult supremacy. Like to be against adult supremacy is to give kids more rights.
sure.
And this is a weakening of parental rights.
And like your individual liberties. Well, wait a minute, but she just said that everyone should have a right, according to the left, to housing, food, transportation, education, all that stuff. Sounds like some extra rights that people don't actually have now, but okay.
Yeah, the fascist assumption is that we fuck it up, that the left doesn't provide any of these.
Yeah.
We promise it, but like when she says like the left in charge of the food supply, we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
Voldemort,
Yeah.
Mao, stupid bullshit.
Setting aside that Cuba has survived with an embargo for how many decades now, but anyway, private healthcare, private schools, and homeschooling, they're just so pearl clutching about everything. Private energy and gas providers. I mean, I don't exactly have.
I'll dispute homeschooling. The socialist program does not include is an anti-homeschooling, I think.
Yeah.
Only if a homeschooling setup is set up like a private school, which is what most homeschooling is on the right, when right-wingers are doing it. If left-wingers do it, then it's taking the form of a community school. In which case, this is something the state would fund.
Right.
It regulates community schools as if they're public schools. In fact, the ideal anarcho-liberationist tendency would say it's like all public education is a community school type of setup.
Right. So like, of course, schools have to have standards. Otherwise, you could be depriving your children the right to a fair and good education. So yeah, if you see that as somehow a right worth fighting for, to deprive your children of things, then sure, I guess we are against that sort of a right. But the right to private energy and gas, as though publicly funded and operated energy companies would be just so much worse.
You wouldn't have Hank Hills, you wouldn't be able to privately buy propane and propane accessories.
Yeah. And then private food providers. So having a right to food is definitely a worse right than having the right to private food.
The misunderstanding is all the production is already socialized. It's that the ownership is privatized. So that's why it's like the labor, the production is already socialized. We're just aligning that.
Yeah. Giving people the fruits, both literal and figurative, of their labor. Yeah.
But the small proprietor, the small business owner is sort of seeing things as, well, the way to align things is actually to de-socialize labor and make things small and de-socialize labor, so that you keep private property, but it's in line with private labor, personal labor. And that's, what the libertarian vision of justice, or the anarchist vision of justice even. But no, that's not true. An anarchist, of course, is for socializing labor and seeing things as community. So anarchists aren't like gung-ho about private property. If they were, they would be ANCAPs.
Yeah, we're definitely against private property, but that's not how we define it. That's ridiculous.
Well, this is what she's gleaned from a bunch of Marxist talks. So,
yeah.
For example, Marxist feminists who talk about, just angles on the family. and how the bourgeois family is a place that develops as a unit of capitalism. So
Right.
it's like, well, when leftists say capitalism, they mean your rights as a parent to control your kids,
Right.
in the bourgeois fashion.
Right.
But she doesn't really understand it.
No, I'm
just
sure she will never articulate that in any meaningful way. She'll just do what she does, vaguely gesture and hope
Yeah.
that you're scared.
It's like the 8th grade education kind of thing.
Yeah,
Where,
basically. Oh my God.
the level where you understand everything you're reading, but you're not actually critically like connecting
Oh,
things.
jeez. Like having seen a bunch of social studies curriculum that's on offer from a lot of the major outlets, it's basically at the same level as that. Very basic, wrong understandings of
Yeah.
things like
Like learning vocab. It's like treating it like learning vocab.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we need to wrap things up. It is past our time. So this was fun. We didn't get very far as we never do in a Borisenko video.
We weren't expecting to.
Weren't expecting to, but it was fun nonetheless because wow, it's just
Glad you thought
such a bizarre but interesting niche that she occupies. I keep coming back to that. But
Next time we'll do something more interesting. We'll go through some of our videos, collected topics. So, but I'll we're always filling time with what we're doing because I'm pretty active. Next few weeks should be a little quieter.
Okay.
October is because there's really no electioneering that I'm participating in now, so things are pretty lax.
yeah, things are going to start ramping up for me with grad school pretty soon here.
Okay.
So we'll see. For now, we can keep the every other week thing, but I don't know how long that's going to get into the semester. We'll see.
Again, doing this and other things, I'm tempted to. I haven't devoted the time to it, but mostly because of the gaming thing, also. But again, I'm uncomfortable because I don't have a 2-monitor setup, but I do want to stream when I'm gaming, as you suggested, because I have a number of political games that.
That would be a lot of fun to see. I would
And
definitely watch that.
and I'm gonna play some Shantae after this because I got an Xbox controller basically that works perfectly with Steam.
Nice.
Before I was putting a PS4 controller in because that has a speaker, though it was in conflict with my computer.
I see. Okay.
So it was creating some conflicts. It wasn't working well.
Gotcha.
Because there are certain Metroidvanias where I want to use a stick.
Yeah. I've been doing okay at The Witcher 3 with just the mouse, but that's not every game.
You don't need to aim in Witcher, do you?
It's pretty much auto aim for the most part. So
I know. The meta is that the mouse and keyboard is actually more accurate aiming.
Yeah.
Me as maybe a left-handed person, it's just actually. It does not feel good to me.
Okay, because then you got everything. Yeah. I can see that.
Good night.
Have a good one.
We got the 18th for No Kings.
Yep. I may participate in that. We'll see.
Have a clipboard. Sign people up for something.
Yeah.
Or hand out some more radicalizing lit.
Yeah. Good sound advice.
The best thing you can do. If you're not organizing, then you are wasting your time at a protest. Yes.
Sure.
All right. Good night.
Have a good one. See ya. All right. That's going to be it for me tonight. That was a fun time. Got into some good discussion, despite the brain dead material we were covering. Always funny. I don't know what it is about Karlin Borisenko. I'll make sure to put it into the description for the YouTube, just so that perhaps some of her fans can find this and see what actual leftists think about her in-depth, hefty analysis. I'm just wrapping up now. Don't worry. Do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye-bye.
You're not even gonna put your hand on. There you go. There's the hand, the disembodied hand. The Amanda will come on camera from time to time, even stuff. There she is.
There, you happy now?
I'm very happy now. Thanks for making a cameo. I'm sure my numbers usually do go up when you're on, so they do.
Uh-huh.
What are you shaking your head at me for? They do. If you want to see more of the lovely Amanda on the stream, comment wherever you're finding this. I'll see it, and it'll be irrefutable proof to have her on more often. Anyway, probably be on this Sunday evening doing some more Witcher stuff. That's the plan for now. We'll see how homework goes for this week. Like I said to Dan, things are getting pretty heavy with grad school again, passing that halfway mark through the semester where papers start getting due and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, somebody has a book to read.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
Welcome.
I'm going to read something that's on audiobook. That's what I'm going to pick. Yeah, I am. What do you mean, okay? That's the only way I can read books anymore.
But I don't think any of David's books are gonna be.
Well, we'll find out, won't they? And if they're not, then I'll make it into audiobook. Maybe I'll even share it here. Y'all can do my homework with me. How about that? Well, that'd be a fun stream.
Yeah, Brian. Giving a shit about other people is kind of important.
It is important. Anyway, I've rambled on way too much. Have a good night. See you Sunday. Hopefully I'll see you Sunday.
We might be late because birthday dinner.
Oh, that's this Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So probably won't see you Sunday then. We'll have to come up with a different day. Maybe we'll do Monday and Tuesday of next week. We'll see.
What's Monday?
Oh, your birthday. That's right. Maybe you can do a birthday stream. How about that? Give the people what they want.
They don't want it.
They do. I'm gonna make a poll right now.
You know how that goes, Morgan?
Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Hopefully I'll see you sometime soon. Hopefully we'll do a birthday stream. We can do whatever videos Amanda wants to do. How about that?
Remember what you opened.
Absolutely. I love doing the videos. Like, you know, I always like other perspectives to come on the stream. All right. So you heard it here first, folks. Birthday stream. Look out for it. The 13th.
They ain't looking.
They looking. They're gonna mark their calendar right now. They're having Siri set them reminders right now.